The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and gone. Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good. Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champs.
Holy three. Good. Holy ball. Down Shelley. Three ball. Good. Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Hello, everybody. I am Joey Mack. Thanks for joining us. Good show coming for you today. Really good show. Gwen Svekis is going to join us. One of our favorite interviews since I've been doing Duck Insider, and actually since I was calling Oregon softball when I was in school. Gwen's a great interview. We're going to talk to her, Pro Duck, about Athletes Unlimited. We were originally scheduled to talk with Gwen yesterday. They actually had to play a game yesterday, so fair reason to move the interview to today by Gwen. So we're going to talk with her coming up in just a little while. We actually talked to her earlier today, and I have to tell you that normally we would try and really be clever and have it just be that it's like she's here with us, but we actually have a spoiler tag. Like, on the internet, like when every article you read about movies or shows or whatever, and there's like a spoiler tag, if like, don't read past here for spoilers. We actually have to do that with Gwen because we talked about things that actually have spoilers. We'll tell you about that more in a little bit. Some of your Facebook comments and questions, YouTube comments and questions as well. University of Oregon, though, the big announcement today. We'll start with that. Also, Justin Herbert on Hard Knocks. You probably saw the Oregon football account tweet out a little portion of the show from HBO. I want to play that for you because it's pretty cool. Thought Sabali a great job over the course of this last week. And yeah, that's pretty much the show today because Gwen was such a good interview. You're really going to enjoy that. University of Oregon, though, in a update from President Michael Schill on fall term, he described it as a difficult but prudent decision. The announcement coming today, the University of Oregon will shift to primarily remote instruction for fall term due to the ongoing spread of COVID-19 across the country. The university will welcome first-year students who choose or need to live in campus residence halls this fall, thanks to robust testing, contact tracing, and isolation and quarantine programs that are already in place, and provide them with a wealth of safe on-campus services for meaningful first-year experience. So, remote instruction, takeaways here. Remote instruction for the fall primarily, still services available on campus. And Michael Schill also added that in limited circumstances, such as some labs, studio experiences, other small classes, the UO will provide in-person instruction in accordance with health and safety guidelines. President Michael Schill said, quote, "Much has changed in the months since the University of Oregon announced our intention to try to offer an in-person curriculum this fall. We have learned valuable lessons from other states, communities, and institutions of higher education about what works and, more importantly, what does not work as it relates to managing the spread of the coronavirus. We have also listened to you, the members of the University of Oregon community. We have heard your hopes and concerns." That's President Michael Schill, his statement about moving to primarily remote learning for the fall. And campus is scheduled to, or I guess classes, I should say, were scheduled to begin on campus in about a month. So that's the big announcement today. A few takeaways. There are some big takeaways to go through, but everything is available on the University of Oregon website. It's the front page, as you can imagine right now. And it's also, I think, important to note that the U of O is answering all these questions for those of you that have it. And this is beyond sports. I mean, look, we know this. This is beyond sports. As the university made the announcement today, let's see. I'm going to review my notes and make sure that I don't have anything else that I want to say to everybody. University will work to expand testing throughout the fall. I think this is an important note. Continuing to add to the testing is going to be really, really important. with the goal of returning to predominantly in-person instruction for the beginning of winter quarter in 2021. So the hope is to still return to mostly in-person instruction in the winter quarter of 2021. Testing is going to be important. We've seen, and I'm sure many of you have, the news and the headlines and what other universities are facing. And so the U of O, in some ways, I'm really glad, honestly, just speaking as me here for a second and as a former University of Oregon student, I'm really glad that the U of O is a quarter school with everything going on, because normally it's a little funky. Like, your friend, when you're in college, you got friends back from high school that they go back a little earlier than you, and you're like, that stinks because you're in a semester school, and you get your summer a little longer. But then of course it used to bite you in the butt on the back end when all your friends that were in semester schools were out, end of May, and you're running into June. Anyway, in this circumstance, with everything going on, in all seriousness, I'm glad that the University of Oregon's a quarter school, because it did give the U of O a little more time to figure out and observe what was going on in other communities. And Michael Schill pointed that out. I think it's an important distinction, because we're all trying to figure out the best way to deal with this. So the U of O announcing today that it's pivoting to mostly remote and online instruction for the fall term. And I know that that's disappointing for students. I really feel for students. Our interns, our student athletes, the spring was unfortunate, not getting that end of the year experience. And I know for fall term, especially for those first year students, it stinks. It really does. There's really no other way to put it. But the University of Oregon is doing everything possible to make sure that this is done safely. And right now, the safest thing is remote instruction for fall term. If we have more updates on that, we'll let you know. And I know that the University of Oregon Communications Office is fielding a lot of questions. If you've asked questions, I think I would speak for everybody when they'll get to you. And answers are available. Many answers are available if you go straight to around.uoregon.edu. It'll be the head story. And President Michael Schill also posted a video that you can watch as well. Yeah, it's kind of a disappointing announcement, I think, for a lot of people, but it's, in my mind, not a surprising decision. And today, on August 26th, making the announcement allows a few weeks for students to plan and prepare accordingly. I wish I had something else to say on that subject. I don't really have a way to lighten the mood on that one. And unfortunately, that's just, it is what it is. So, as pivot has become a much used word, I think, lately, why don't we pivot to some Pro Ducks, because there's a lot of good things going on with Pro Ducks. Again, we're going to hear from Gwen Svekis coming up, but maybe you guys have been tuning into Hard Knocks. It is a little different. Hayden Herrera and I were talking about that yesterday. It is a little different because of the virus and just the way that that's changed how we go about business. But still, watching Justin Herbert just put on a show in his workouts, that was pretty cool on Hard Knocks last night.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, man.
Just dropping dimes.
That's a good ball. That's a good ball, Tim.
That's what every Duck fan wants to hear right now, is just, that's a good ball, 10. It's a good ball.
Good ball. Good ball. Good rhythm. Good ball.
It's actually been really cool to see Justin, of course, and a Eugene kid. I mean, if you told Justin Herbert, 16-year-old Justin Herbert, hey, you're going to be on Hard Knocks as a quarterback.
That's a good one to finish on.
I mean, holy cow. Hard Knocks, thanks to HBO for the footage. I love Hard Knocks every year. It's always just entertaining down in Los Angeles this time around. So for Justin Herbert, though, I mean, seriously, if you told 16-year-old Justin, hey, you're going to be on Hard Knocks, he'd be like, yeah. I mean, that's just cool. As an Oregon fan, as an Oregon guy, I mean, that's just cool to see Justin Herbert on display like that. So maybe that's a good pivot, right? That's good. We still got NFL on the horizon and a lot of Pro Ducks. Meanwhile, how about Satu Sabali last night, everybody? 28 points, 11 rebounds for Satu Sabali. Her third double-double of her rookie campaign in the WNBA. and a career high in points with 28. She's back. Dealt with a little bit of a back injury and back full force. So for Satu Sabali, the unicorn continuing to do some unicorn-like things. I'm sure many of you have been following along on social media because they're really embracing the unicorn aspect for the Dallas Wings, which has been cool for Satu. Meanwhile, your Pro Ducks viewing guide for today before we talk Pro Ducks with one Gwen Svekis coming up in just a moment. Well, it's a Wednesday, and all that we've got is Scott Heineman and the Texas Rangers tonight for your viewing guide. All the NBA action is really looking forward to Thursday, Saturday for WNBA as well. And then this weekend, it's the start of the new softball league from Athletes Unlimited. I'm going to tell you all about that. We're going to hear from Gwen Svekis when we come back. I'm Joey Mack. This is a good interview with Gwen Svekis coming up. Stick with us. Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union back inside the Country Financial Studio after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll Hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. And Shadow Hills Country Club, your family resort just minutes from home. Call for a tour today. Shadow Hills Country Club, proud sponsor of Duck Insider and the Ducks. So Gwen Svekis, I want to make this our Oregon Imaging Center's inside look. Taking an inside depth look, or a deep look, I guess I should say, at Athletes Unlimited. So Gwen Svekis, 2018 All-American for the Ducks. She's now on the governance committee for the league, one of 5 players. This is an athlete-driven league. Great concept, and we're going to hear more from Gwen on it in just a moment. Essentially, the idea is that you make it more about the individual players and the individual athletes and less about the teams. So the idea is that not only will you get compensated based on your team standing and team victories, but also your individual statistics. Great idea. Great idea for Athletes Unlimited. And Gwen Svekis, we broke it all down with her earlier today. Starts this weekend, so you can tune in this weekend on the ESPN family of networks, CBS family of networks as well. And I think it's just a great idea. Taking an inside look at Athletes Unlimited, brought to you by Oregon Imaging Centers, and Oregon Imaging Centers would like to remind you that you have a choice in choosing your medical imaging provider. Choose quality, choose service, choose Oregon Imaging Centers. The choice is yours. Taking an inside look at Athletes Unlimited with Pro Duck, Gwen Svekis. All right, Gwen, we were just talking about, before pressing play here, about a game last night. You guys are actually playing a live sporting event, which has got to be just the most exciting thing ever. So we're going to talk about that, the Athletes Unlimited League, everything that's gone on in your life since then. We have a lot to get to. So first, Gwen, thanks for taking the time to join us. This is great. Catching up with Pro Ducks is one of my favorite things to do. How's life been since we last talked to you? A couple years now it's been.
Gosh, it's been a crazy whirlwind. I didn't even plan on going pro, and now I've just engulfed my whole life in professional sport endeavors. So life is in the fast lane. I've been playing professionally. I just finished my master's degree at Indiana University. And then I dove headfirst into Athletes Unlimited. So I've been on with them since last October. So it's been about a 10-month venture now. I'm hired on full-time, so I'm working full-time as a staff member. I'm on the player executive committee for softball, and I'm also playing. So I just have a lot of moving parts in my life, and I'm loving every single second of it. And I love repping my duck gear out in public. I'm really happy to you guys here.
This is great. Anytime we get an excuse to throw up an O for a Pro Duck, we're pretty excited about that. Gwen, I got to first say congratulations on your Masters and jumping in. But my first question here, and I have multiple follow-ups to everything that you just said, so be ready here.
Great.
You didn't think about going pro? I mean, what was that thought process like a couple years ago? That kind of surprised me that you weren't going to go pro.
Yeah, so my whole college career, I love softball. I knew I loved softball. I just also knew that there wasn't a ton of professional opportunity in the softball realm, at least. So I wasn't going to put my eggs in that basket because I knew that I wanted to go the business route. I wanted to dive into other ventures. I wanted to get my master's degree and then just go from there and start my professional life. Professional meaning like business life.
Right.
And so when I got word that I was going to be drafted, I was okay. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do next, so I might as well just play a little bit longer and see how it goes. My rookie year, I didn't play a ton, but I fell in love. I was just obsessed with the lack of resources in women's professional sports. I was like, I know what I want to do. The whole time I was like, I knew I was passionate about women's sports. I knew I was passionate about softball specifically. And I realized like, I want to commit myself 100% to making this world better for professional women's sports, not just softball. Obviously softball is my neck of the woods, but I want to be headfirst diving in, paving the way for all women in professional sports across the whole gamut of sports. So I'm so thankful I went pro because I don't know if I ever would have tapped into that passion if I didn't.
And you're using your business background now. I mean, it's like the perfect marriage, I feel like, Gwen. So give people the story of how that came together, because how'd you get involved with Athletes Unlimited? I mean, I've read Rob's story. I talked to Rob a little bit about it, and so I'm just curious for fans to kind of hear it from you now of how this all started.
Yeah, so I got a call last October from Sherry Kemp, who's the commissioner of the MPF. She's like, hey, I got an interesting business opportunity. I want you to go out and represent the MPF. These guys have a crazy idea, but they're legit. And that was all the information I was given. I was flown out to New York. I'm on like the 40th floor of a skyscraper overlooking Central Park.
Wow.
And it's like, it was the most incredible office I've ever been. I was with 3 other athletes who now make up the player executive committee for Athletes Unlimited. And we just sat around the table with John, Jonathan, and Vivian, who are the masterminds behind this whole operation. And they pitched this idea and we were like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And you know me, I'm an Oregon Duck. I'm all about innovation. So I was like, heck yes, let's do it. I'm in. So that was October. And we were nothing more than an idea at the time. And so we came on board. We were consulting for a while, and these guys know business. They know how to make money. They know how to run a business. They know how to treat people like professionals. And they left the sporting up to us, which I think is one of the coolest parts. They bring in sport-specific people to deal with the sport side of things, which is something that we haven't experienced. We've had sport people at the top that don't know business, or business people that don't care about the sport. So it's kind of been, it's a good marriage here at Athletes Unlimited. So yeah, so I dove in head first. I think probably around April, I decided this is what I wanted to do full time. I had just finished my master's degree, just graduated, just gotten my diploma. COVID had hit and I was home living in Florida, and I emailed the CEO and I was like, hey, listen, like, this is what I want to do and I want a job. And he was like, great. Ran through the interview process, and now I'm the manager of player care and coordination across all sports under the Athletes Unlimited umbrella, which, like you said, it's really cool that all of my education and passions all collided at once. It's just the perfect storm, right place at the right time.
Gwen Svekis joining us, Pro Duck, Athletes Unlimited. So, you know, I think it is the perfect marriage. It's a great example of how things do line up. And, you know, Gwen, I always tell people, like, all of our interns, I always tell them, like, make your own luck, right? Like that. You did that. I mean, you had all these opportunities. You were the first person on the list. So, man, that's awesome. I mean, this is so cool to be able to catch up with you and talk about this. You know, I also think it's cool, Gwen, because you've heard about, like, player coaches in the past, right? Like, that's kind of been a thing in some sports over the last century. But you guys now, I mean, this is like player CEO type deal. I mean, this is pretty unique here. And I got to say, I love the idea. I imagine that everybody must love the idea. You can't be the only athlete that loves this.
No, the feedback I've gotten this past week, you know, before we all got into Rosemont and we got to playing and going through the drafts and everything that's gone along with it, I think there was a little bit of questioning still going on behind the scenes. You know, it's 56 athletes. Everybody's had a different experience in the professional world. We have, you know, 6 different national team representations amongst our players. So I think before people got here, there was definitely still some question marks because there's a new point system. You're the GM of your team. You're writing the lineup. You're making the pitching changes. You know, you have Kat Osterman on your team. When are you going to pull her out of the game?
Right.
You know, so there's a lot that goes into it. But now, after the first week is under the belt, I think people are realizing, 1, how professional it is, and 2, how great it is to be in charge of your own destiny, your own game, the way that your team plays. So I've had nothing but positive feedback so far, and we're excited because we have our first official draft tonight, and our first games are kicking off on ESPN2 this weekend, which is also a really new venture for professional softball, at least.
Well, and that's great. I mean, hey, we all need live sports right now. I fully raise my hand that we all need live sports. I'm really excited. Gwen, give us the schedule a little bit. I know that you guys had some scrimmages, kind of just to, imagine, shake off a little bit of the rust, and give us the schedule, the breakdown of what you've done recently, and then what fans can expect coming up over the next few weeks.
So we got in about 2 weeks ago, and we had like a little mini, I want to call it like a spring training. We got training in. We did Wolfpack Endeavor with Abby Wambach, who's on our advisory board, which is really awesome. She got on a Zoom with us and talked with us for about an hour. And then we've just got into like some team building things because there are a lot of us have never played together before. So we spent a week of team building and practicing. And then we just played our 2 scrimmages where we ran through the whole draft system, the whole point system. So people kind of got the flow of things under their belt a little bit. And then tonight we have our real draft, and then we're playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the next 5 weeks. We're playing on ESPN, different platforms, this wide range of platforms, which you can find on auprosports.com. And then we're also going to we have 7 games on CBS Sports Network. So it's really cool. It's really exciting. Also, all of our social media channels are on top of it. So that's at AU Pro Sports, and that'll give you kind of the full scope. But yeah, so we're Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which is awesome. And, you know, unfortunately with a lot of the cancellations of football, it opened up the door. I mean, unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it. It opened up the door for us. Reality. It opened up the door for us to be able to shift into some more primetime slots, so it's exciting.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, you know, it's a great opportunity, so take advantage of the opportunity. I mean, I think that's awesome. So, real quick, can we go back in time a little bit and just refocus on an athlete-focused league? And you mentioned the scoring system, how things are going to work. One, quick breakdown of that for fans, and I'm going to ask you to do it because I don't want to mess anything up. But then, 2, Gwen, I mean, just this idea, what was kind of the genesis of the idea, and why is it so exciting for everybody right now?
Yeah, so the genesis came from Jonathan Soros, who's our co-founder. He and John Patrickhoff are 2 masterminds, but Jonathan Soros has one of the most creative brains that I've ever come in contact with. They did a ton of research, and what market research has shown in the sporting world is that seasons are too long, and people care about players more than they care about teams at this point. So, for example, I'm a Sabrina Ionescu fan. I'm not a Liberty fan, but I'm going to follow Liberty because she's on that team. You know what I mean? So they took all that. They ran through the different fans, the different target audiences we wanted to go after. And Gen Z wants this easy to consume, quick paced. There's a lot of fantasy sport players in the world. So they took the fantasy sports model and the traditional model, and they sort of meshed them together and made a baby, and that's Athletes Unlimited.
I mean, it's a very perfect. That's a softball baby. I mean, it's the perfect baby. And that Scott just said it. And the other thing too. I know you guys are looking at expanding to other sports, which I think is great. I mean, I think it's an awesome idea, Gwen.
Yeah. So we're launching. We have announced volleyball. We're launching volleyball in February. That's the first professional indoor women's volleyball league. So that's really excited. We have a good bulk of that roster lined up. Olympians from different countries. It's so loaded, and it's so cool to see the traction start to pick up. We had our opening ceremonies last week, and I think that gave us a lot of momentum going into the season here. So yeah, it's just nothing but good stuff coming your way.
So we were talking about this on the show last week, Gwen, and so you gotta bear with us here. So Scott and I were like, so if it's so focused on an athlete, how do I buy their jerseys? Have you guys talked about that kind of stuff? Like, what's merchandising going to look like? I mean, I know you guys will redraft teams. You're going to have, like, different uniforms. How's that going to work?
Yeah, so right now, just at the inception of all this, we have player number T-shirts that have been made.
Perfect.
So it's Svekis with a big 2-1, and then the AU, this little flowy AU in the background of it. So that's in our merchandise shop online. I don't know what the future holds for uniform. I'm hoping that this thing launches and we hit the ground running and it just gains a ton of momentum to where that's a problem, where we need to make real jerseys for people to represent us.
I'm in.
You know?
Hey, we count us as pre-orders for a Svekis, right? Okay, so I think you can count a lot of Duck fans for that, Gwen. And speaking of other Ducks, I mean, you got a few other Ducks that you're competing with, which has got to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah, absolutely. DJ Sanders and Janie Reed were both on my team last night in our scrimmage. It was so fun. I hit a single, and then the throw went home, so I got to second base, and I turned to the dugout, and Janie's sitting there. So I threw the O back at her. That was a lot of fun. And then Carissa Hovengay's here too, so I caught her bullpen the night before. It's so nostalgic. It's so fun. We're talking through our old weight training sessions and the things that we hated and loved and things that we would give anything to go back to. And it's totally nostalgic and so fun to be here with other Ducks.
You know, I got to imagine too, just the amount of people that you're meeting. You mentioned like you've never played with these people before, but the competition level too is pretty darn high, isn't it? I mean, that's something that I'm excited to watch because these are a lot of great players that we've seen over the years.
Oh, yeah. At any point, you're on the field with 4 or 5 All-Americans. You're on the field with Olympians. You're on the field. You name it, it's here. So absolutely. It's so exciting. It's top-notch softball. We're shaking the rust off, but we're having a ton of fun. Runs are being scored, massive plays at the plate, double plays. Like, it's just so fun to see elite softball being played and to know that, hey, like last night I played with Jessie Warren. She made the same diving catch that she made in the World Series 2 years ago when they won the national championship. Like, it's so cool to see people that have always been across the field from and finally get to be on the same side of the lines with them. So it's awesome.
That's Gwen Svekis, Pro Duck, talking Athletes Unlimited. A great interview, wide-ranging with Gwen, and I really mean wide-ranging. You'll see why when we come back. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. More with Gwen Svekis inside the Country Financial Studio next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a delicious Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. And all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't get Humpty to try a different zero sugar soda again.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
Football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Today's show brought to you by North Fork Public House, open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. We continue with Gwen Svekis, part 2 of our conversation with the Pro Duck, talking Athletes Unlimited. I do want to take a look at the Toyota Women's Sports Schedule Spotlight here, because there's going to be teams drafted here tonight, as Gwen talks about. And on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you'll be able to watch starting at 10 a.m. on ESPN2. The very first game of Athletes Unlimited. So Carissa Hovingay, DJ Sanders, Gwen Svekis, and Janie Takeda-Reed will all be playing as Pro Ducks in this event. You can see every week the Pro Ducks viewing guide. Rob Mosley updates it every week on GoDucks.com. But Saturday, 10 a.m., Sunday, 10 a.m., Monday, 1 p.m. And it's either going to be on ESPN2, ESPN3, or on CBS Sports Network. That's your full schedule breakdown. Saturday, 10 a.m., ESPN2, and then at 1 p.m. on ESPN2 as well. Sunday, ESPN3, and then at 12:30 on ESPN3 also. And on Monday, 1 p.m. CBS Sports Network and 5 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. Those are the time slots when you can watch the Pro Ducks. Teams will be determined tonight. We'll tell you a little bit more about that coming up tomorrow once we know where the Pro Ducks land. That's your Toyota Women's Sport Schedule Spotlight, always brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And now, let's go and hear a little bit more from Gwen Svekis. And I have to say, spoilers, okay? I'm doing my part in the dork community. Spoilers for Star Wars and Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen them, well, Gwen talks about them, so you've been warned. Continuing with Gwen Svekis. Gwen Svekis joining us, talking about Athletes Unlimited this weekend, making the big debut on the ESPN family of platforms. It's part of our Pro Ducks viewing guide that you can find on GoDucks.com. Constantly updated every week. Check it out. Athletes Unlimited is going to be a part of it. We're talking with Gwen Svekis. All right, I gotta shift gears with you a little bit before we revisit Athletes Unlimited, because if I'm talking with a Pro Duck, I got to ask about some of your favorite Duck memories. You mentioned you've been reminiscing with some Ducks. Has it jogged the memory of some of your favorite Duck moments, Gwen?
Absolutely. Where do you want me to start is the real question.
Open forum.
So some of the memories that have come up are from my freshman year, playing on Howe Field still, because obviously Hove and Janie were seniors when I was a freshman. So we've had a lot of really fun times just giggling, laughing about Howe. And then my favorite memories were at the Jane. So my favorite memories are walk-off against UCLA, my senior year breast cancer game. We hit that bomb off Rachel Garcia and ended up probably being the game that clinched the Pac-12 championship for us. So that's one of my favorite memories. And the comebacks against Kentucky are just, those are unmatched. Those are my favorite games in my career. And then obviously World Series games. I mean, hitting a home run against LSU in the World Series. My mom's in the stands with battling off breast cancer and going through chemotherapy. So I just have so many fond memories of wearing the O on my chest. And I would give anything to go back and restart my freshman year and be the little kid with the tail between my legs and do it all again. I would do it all in a heartbeat.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that you still have these fond memories. You know, Gwen, I'm just curious with staying connected with the Ducks. I mean, like, I know you're a Duck through and through. You've said that a couple times here talking about this. I mean, how often are you in touch with Oregon, watching, listening? I mean, and are there any softball games that you've missed in the last 2 years since you left?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind because I was at Indiana University, so I was kind of submerged in my own little bubble over there where I was trying to keep up with the Ducks and what was going on, but I also was basically in a full-blown season myself. So
Right.
I kept up with the Ducks, of course. I love what Missy Lombardi's building. It hasn't been the easiest road. It's been a little bumpy here in, Eugene, Oregon, but I am so proud of my program, and I can't wait to get back there and go for an alumni weekend and participate in an alumni home run derby and get on the field and see the new generation of Ducks that gets to play in Jane Sanders Stadium, because there's nowhere I will go up against anyone. There's not a single stadium that can even hold a flame to Jane Sanders.
Well, one, I agree with you, and two, I'm glad that you brought up alums, because I was going to ask you, are the alums ever going to lose the alumni game at this point? I mean, I feel like you guys are just loaded at this point.
We're getting better and better every year. It's just a testament to all the Ducks that commit to that program and the coaching staffs that have been there and that will be there, and the culture of the teams that are being built in Eugene, Oregon. I mean, it's just unmatched. How can you not want to play in the Jane? And so all those elite athletes go through an elite coaching staff and they come out on the other side. So I'm planning on coming in one day and whooping up on some young little ducklings.
I like it. Follow up, who's winning the alumni home run derby?
Janelle Limbaugh.
You think Janelle would do it?
Janelle Limbaugh's winning the home run derby. We can pretend it's going to be me. We can pretend it's going to be someone else, but that is Janelle's title to hold if
All
she
right.
won.
Okay, fair enough. Janelle, if you're pressure's on now. Pressure's on now if you're tuning in. Okay, I have to ask you about a couple things off the beaten path, because Scott reminded me that similar to us, you're a big Star Wars fan.
Oh, don't get me started, Joey.
Okay, now I'm a little nervous to ask this question. Scott and I have had a lot of debates since, there's been some new movies. Gwen, can you just give us like your minute overall thoughts on the state of the Star Wars universe? Entirely new show now.
The only new recent one that has come out that is even like remotely in the realm of phenomenal is Rogue One.
Okay.
And it's not even technically in the series, whatever you want to call it. I like the special effects. It was too much for me. I didn't like that they didn't allude to Rey being a Palpatine the whole time, and then all of a sudden they just throw it on you at the end. You're like, where did that come from? Like I would have liked to have had little nuggets along the way of her being a Palpatine. It's not that hard if that's the plan, So that's my biggest thought. I loved Ben and her little dyad collision death scene. I loved that, but I would say that's probably like the only scene. And you know what? This is another thing I like. I liked that they tributed each of the last 3 movies to Luke, Leia, and Han. I loved that. Other than that, it's a little rough in the Star Wars world.
So
That's how I feel.
Well, I have to tell you, Gwen, that you just made Scott Phillips, who is the biggest Star Wars fan ever. He wears an Empire Strikes Back sweatshirt like at least once a week. I mean, you just made him so happy because you literally were his spirit animal right there. I mean, word for word, exactly right. He wants to know if you like The Mandalorian, though.
I do like The Mandalorian. Yes, I did. I hope he did too.
He did.
He is a true fan.
Yeah. True fan. You just made him very, very happy. So we had to ask you about that. I told you that we'd have to go off the beaten path a little bit.
I love that curveball. I don't know what I was expecting, but that wasn't it.
Well, okay, final slider for you then. Your thoughts on the ending of Game of Thrones?
Oh, don't do that to me. Listen, I knew Dany was going to become the Mad Queen. I just wish they would have given it more time. I did not like how rushed it was.
Okay.
I'm not happy with Bran being the king, but I get it. But I get it. I can make do with it. My biggest thing was I thought that they did so well the previous I would say 6.5, maybe just 7 seasons of character development and making you fall in love with people, killing them off like in a correct, proper way, giving them a good out in the series. And I felt like they really dropped the ball there at the end with some of the most important characters. So that's how I feel about it. I also didn't like that they never had a showdown between the Mountain and the Hound, because I was waiting for that the entire series. I was waiting for that. So those are my 2 quick tidbits. I am rewatching Game of Thrones right now, though. I'm just finished season 1 for like the 3rd time, but it was really hard for me. So I was picking walk-up songs here, and it's so funny you asked this, because my walk-up song at Oregon was the Game of Thrones theme song.
Yep.
And right in the heart of it, and I loved it, and I still love it. But I had this weird moment, and I ended up picking it still anyway, because I feel like it's a little bit of a signature of mine at this point.
It is.
But I had this weird moment where I was like, I don't know if I want to represent this TV show after the but I chose it anyway, because as a whole, I think it's really hard to wrap up a great TV series anyway. And so I can't blame them too much. I just wish they would have given it more time for Dany to truly be the Mad Queen, and for Jon Snow, and that just, I wish it was just a little bit more time for it.
Well, this is perfect. Gwen really, really hates life, as you can all hear. I mean, she has zero fun. And by the way, talking about social media for Athletes Unlimited, if you haven't seen the video that Rob and I both retweeted of Gwen just having a great time playing softball, check it out. You're going to want to see it. Because Gwen, I mean, that was, to me, that was like, this is why this is great. In a video, this is why this is great. So,
oh man, you guys are great. This was such a fun interview. I really enjoyed this, and you're gonna have to make sure you put spoiler alert at the beginning.
I know.
Just don't do them dirty yet.
Yeah. So everybody knows we talked to Gwen a little bit earlier today. So that means that since this is recorded, I can make sure to do the right thing, Gwen, and put the spoiler tag and make sure everybody's aware. Because we had to throw Gwen a couple curveballs, since she's just, as you can see, great. Gwen, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Real quick, just to remind everybody, Athletes Unlimited, where can they check it out and what they can expect in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think best place to go is to our social media platforms at AU Pro Sports. And then our website is awesome. It's so fun to just flip through, honestly. And that gives everything. It gives our civic leadership. It gives our schedule. It gives our rosters for softball and volleyball. If you're interested in volleyball, there's the shop. All that's on there. And that's auprosports.com. So that's the best place you can keep up with us. We're having our live draft tonight on Facebook Live. And then we're kicking it off on ESPN2 on Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So super exciting stuff coming down the pipe. I'd say follow along, because you have the same fun NCAA softball environment is finally, it feels like, translating over into the professional realm. So it's going to be fun, high speed, constantly changing. It's everything you love about pro sports. It's everything you love about fantasy sports and traditional sports all mixed together. So I really recommend hopping on ESPN, and you don't want to miss a thing.
And it's also really easy to just root for different teams every week when they do the redrafts, because you got pro ducks to root for.
That's right.
So for Duck fans, I mean, this is perfect. This is perfect. Gwen, you're the best. Thanks a ton, and good luck, and go get them, huh? We hope to see you at the top of that leaderboard here in a few weeks.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, thanks for a great interview. That was so fun. Thanks for the curveballs.
I had to throw her a few curveballs, right? I mean, Gwen's a hell of a hitter. She could do it. She hit him out of the park anyway. Yeah, when we were able to coordinate a time to talk to Gwen about Athletes Unlimited, I knew that we had to. I was going to ask her about Game of Thrones because of the walk-up song, and I knew she was a big Game of Thrones fan. And Scott was like, "You got to ask her about Star Wars." I was like, "Okay," and we did. So, Gwen, thanks again. That was awesome. Encourage you all to check out Athletes Unlimited this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Full details on their website, their social media for Athletes Unlimited, and, of course, part of the GoDucks.com Products viewing guide as well. Coming up, we got some breaking news, actually, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour out of the NBA. We're going to tell you about that next. Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union, back inside the Country Financial Studio on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
Welcome back for another episode of ASMR with Alex. Today, we're exploring the delicious, refreshing sounds of Pepsi. Oh, spilled a little there, but don't worry, it's all under control. Now for the best part. Pepsi. That's what I like. Nailed it. My subscriber is gonna love this one.
Locally owned Bigfoot Beverages is proud to support the Oregon Ducks. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi.
This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Inside the Country Financial Studio, I'm Joey Mack, Jackson's Food Stores, proud sponsor of the University of Oregon Ducks. Stop by your neighborhood Jackson's for all your essentials. Everyday specials on game day necessities. You'll be ready for anything that the big game brings. Go Ducks! Thanks to our friends at Jackson's. Well, our Cafe Yum 2-minute drill got very, very updated and interesting here. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, you just heard from Gwen Svekis talking about Athletes Unlimited, talking about another pro league right now. We were supposed to be tuning in for the Milwaukee Bucks and the Orlando Magic. Instead, the Bucks have elected to boycott Game 5. And the general manager for the Bucks, John Horst, just has come out to address reporters and let them know that the players plan to remain in the locker room for a while and likely will not comment when they do come out. And it looks like Oklahoma City and Houston, again, if you're live with us approaching the 2 o'clock hour, they might be doing the same. This is the NBA's playoffs, and Game 5, Bucks have elected to boycott with all the social injustice out there in the world right now. That's a big statement. That's a very, very large statement for the Bucks. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. We'll be following that. That's definitely some big news around the NBA, especially as we thought, we might be able to see a few more pro Ducks in action. So the schedule is adjusting, to say the least. And if you're just joining us today, the announcement from the University of Oregon that the school will pivot to mostly remote and online instruction in the fall term. President Michael Schill described it as a difficult but prudent decision, and he said, quote, "Much has changed in the months since the University of Oregon announced our intention to try to offer an in-person curriculum this fall. We have learned valuable lessons from other states, communities, and institutions of higher education about what works and, more importantly, what does not work as it relates to managing the spread of the coronavirus. We have also listened to you, the members of the University of Oregon community. We have heard your hopes and concerns." And, it's important to note that the University of Oregon is still hoping for an in-person curriculum and in-person instruction for the winter term. But it's going to take a ramp up, as President Schill described, in testing to be able to make that possible. So for those of you who have questions, around.uoregon.edu is best place to go. You can read the entire breakdown from University of Oregon President Michael Schill. He also posted a video as well. Important, though, to note with the testing as well, for those first-year students that need to come to the dorm, still want to continue that first-year experience, the Ducks, meaning the University of Oregon, are still going to offer campus services so that you can have the services that you need when you're living on campus. A lot more information still to come, and a lot of your questions, I think, can be answered on around.uoregon.edu. And frankly, that's where you're going to answer questions better than what I can answer on the subject. But the University of Oregon is pivoting to mostly remote and online instruction in the fall term. Hey, on a bright note, Justin Herbert has been shining on Hard Knocks, which has been pretty cool to see. And Satu Sabali, again, if you're just joining us, 28 points, a career high, 11 boards last night, third double-double. Sure seems like her back is feeling fine. We're hoping to coordinate a time to talk with Satu Sabali, actually, in the coming weeks. Again, we're going to have her on, the days run together now. 2 weeks ago, is that right? Yeah, like 2 weeks ago. And we weren't able to connect, so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do that here in the coming weeks, because look, Satu's having just a great start to her career. You're seeing why she was the number 2 pick and why it was the right time for her to go pro. As much as I think Oregon fans, and I'm one of them, would have loved to see what she could have done in her senior season with the University of Oregon. The big three, if you will, with Sabrina, and Sabrina before her injury was just starring in the WNBA. And then Satu and Ruthie, you're just seeing that those three were all ready for the pros. And that's awesome. Be proud of them, because we saw something really special with Oregon women's basketball here over the last 4 years. And I think it's going to continue. Judging from how excited the coaching staff is about the current group of players, how exciting I think it is to see all of these different players and student athletes for Oregon women's basketball just continue to get better and better at very, very young ages. Jazz Shelley, perfect example. Jazz Shelley comes on and just lights it up from three-point land, breaks the record for threes in a game. That's a freshman. Now imagine what she's going to do in that freshman to sophomore jump, because the cool thing with all these McDonald's All-Americans that are coming in for Oregon women's basketball, just remember that they always say, coaches, being they, that the biggest jump occurs for an athlete between the freshman and the sophomore year. Some of those freshmen that the Ducks have are going to be really, really good. And let's hope that we're going to see them in action coming up in January. That's your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Cafe Yum, restaurants throughout Oregon and Washington, where special diet requests and custom orders are always welcome. Menus and nutrition info available at cafeyum.com. Well, we'll keep track of what's going on in the NBA. I imagine that for some of you that are listening on 95.3 The Score at 6 o'clock tonight, or maybe on 1080 The Fan later on this evening as well, and things are moving quickly with the news cycle. And that seems to be a common theme since March, February. Yeah, really since February. Things moving pretty quickly, so I imagine that things are going to change again before we talk to you again tomorrow. One more time out. When we come back, wrapping up Duck Insider, we'll tell you what's to come on the show tomorrow. A focus on the Oregon Equipment Room. Yeah, we'll give you a little preview of that. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Back inside the Country Financial Studio next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics, because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat, or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. So tomorrow on the show, I'm really excited about this. Aaron Wasson is going to join us for our athletic director interview brought to you by Pepsi, locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Yeah, we call him Pooh, as you might have heard Scott in the background over here. we do call him Pooh. Aaron Wasson's great. He has some great stories. And one of the things I want to talk to him about tomorrow is just how the equipment room has changed, adapted with distributing things to athletes. I mean, this has been, obviously unprecedented. How was his staff able to handle this? And, something else that I'm fascinated to talk with Pooh about is just, he's actually one of the NCAA liaisons. Like, that's part of what he's done in his career. And I'm kind of curious to talk with him about what's that going to look like now. I mean, what are those conversations going to look like, and just all the different changes that have gone through? And also, I'm curious, anybody else have questions they would want me to ask Pooh just about the life in the equipment room? I'm going to talk to Pooh about all that. We're going to have a pretty wide-ranging interview with Aaron Wasson coming up tomorrow on the show. Also, I saw a question from Bill coming in here late on the show. He was asking if he's curious Pac-12 is going to reverse decision about fall sports, considering the other 4 major conferences are going ahead. Well, 3 so far are going ahead with major sports. But remember, the NCAA has moved the championships for the fall to the spring. And we've seen more and more news trickling down that, for example, like volleyball and soccer are going to move seasons to the spring. The Pac-12 has said no competition until 2021. So January 1st, 2021 would be the earliest that they can get going again. So to Bill's question, it's actually 3 major conferences that are going ahead, and I don't see the Pac-12 reversing the decision. The CEO group was very, very clear that they wanted to make a decision and not have all this uncertainty and not wanting to kick the can down the road. And asking, Bill also asked about if Oregon would prepare to become an independent. No, I don't see that happening. Rob Mullins talked about that a little bit with his availability with the media, and so no, I don't see that happening. That's it for today. What a day. Gwen Svekis was great. Outstanding. Talking equipment tomorrow. See you then.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my